you very much. Thank you all for who you are and what you do and for coming tonight. This is the third time that you've given me the honor of addressing this summit. In 2012, I met many of the technical, economic, and organizational elements of the next 5/8, as it is now, of your journey to save $1 billion worth of energy and water costs. Congratulations on the first 3/8. In 2013, I enlarged that vision of bringing out every kind of waste, but I also invited you to imagine a university where we escape, span, or demolish disciplinary silos. We cultivate beginner's mind. We fulfill higher education's unique obligation to play the long game and make the long bet. And we also practice and spread the public purpose and the rigorous insistence on quality that our students and their students must uphold if our society is to learn quickly and adapt gracefully in turbulent times. Now, in 2014, I want to zoom out even further and explore what it is that gets us up out of bed every morning. Each of us doing this work on energy and resources in higher education or elsewhere feels challenged every day by the enormity and difficulty of the task. Busting barriers, spreading innovation, rearranging our metal furniture, reminding our designers is not easy, or it would have been done already. Difficulty then sows doubts. Is the proverbial glass half full or half empty? Or is it twice as big as it needs to be? Is it further expandable by efficiency? Is it worth improving? But that improvement gets a lot harder if we are gnawed by doubt about whether we can ever succeed or are simply inadequate to the scope and scale of the task. Many of our students, too, are down about the state of the world. Some are in despair that we are the first self-endangered species. And you can't depress people into action. So I'd like to talk to you today, and especially to those students leading among us, about a kind of disruptive innovation that is not about technology or design or financing or implementation. It's much deeper and much more important than that. It's about our purpose, our attitude, and the spirit of our being. The early pioneer, Bill McClarney, was stirring a vat of algae in his Costa Rica research center when a brassy North American lady strode in. What, she demanded, was he doing stirring this green goo when what the world really needs is love? So Bill replied, well, there's theoretical love, and then there's applied love. And he kept on stirring. Many of us here stir and strive in the spirit of applied hope. We work to make the world better, not from some airy theoretical hope, but in the pragmatic and grounded conviction that starting with hope and acting out of hope can cultivate a different kind of world worth being hopeful about, reinforcing itself in a virtuous spiral. Applied hope is not about some vague, far-off future, but it's expressed and created moment by moment through our choices. Francis Moore Lepay said, hope is a stance, not an assessment. But applied hope is not mere glandular optimism. The optimist, just like the pessimist, as David Brower taught us, treats the future as fate, not choice, and thus fails to take responsibility for creating the world we want. Applied hope is a deliberate choice of heart and head. David Orr says the optimist has his feet up on the desk and a satisfied smirk knowing the deck is stacked. The the person living in hope has her sleeves rolled up and is fighting hard to change or beat the odds. Optimism can easily mask cowardice. Applied hope requires fearlessness. Now, fear of specific and avoidable dangers has evolutionary value. Nobody has ancestors who were not mindful of saber-toothed tigers. But pervasive dread, promoted by some who want to keep us pickled in fear, is numbing and demotivating. Sometimes when I give a talk, a questioner then details the many bad things happening in the world and all the suffering in the universe and asks, how dare I propose solutions? Isn't resistance futile? The only response I found is to ask as gently as I can, yeah, I can see why you feel that way. Does it make you more effective? In a recent college class, one young woman bemoaned so many global problems that she said she'd lost all hope and she couldn't imagine bringing a child into such a world. But discussion quickly revealed to both of us that she had not lost hope at all. She knew exactly where she'd left it. To be sure, mood does matter. The last 3 decades of the 20th century reportedly saw 46,000 new psychological papers on despair and grief, and only 400 on joy and happiness. If psychologists want to help people find joy and happiness, they're looking in the wrong places. Empathy, humor, and reversing both inner and outer poverty are all vital, but the most solid foundation we know for feeling better about the future is to improve it, tangibly, durably, reproducibly, and scalably. So now is the time to be practitioners, not theorists, to be synthesis, not specialists, to do solutions, not problems, to do transformation, not incrementalism. Or as my mentor Edward Land said, don't undertake a project unless it is manifestly important and nearly impossible. It's time to shift our language and action, as my wife Judy says, from somebody should to I will, and to do real work on real projects and go to scale. As that early activist, St. Francis of Assisi, said, preach the gospel at all times. If necessary, use words. In a world short of both hope and time, we need to practice Raymond Williams' truth that to be truly radical is to make hope possible, not despair convincing. Hope becomes possible, practical, even profitable, when advanced resource efficiency turns scarcity into plenitude. David White has a poem called Loaves and Fishes that captures that goal thus. He writes, "This is not the age of information. This is not the age of information. Forget the news and the radio and the blurred screen. This is the time of loaves and fishes. People are hungry, and one good word is bread for 1,000. So, with the world so finely balanced between fear and hope, with the outcome in suspense and a whiff of imminent shift in the air, let us choose to add the small, stubborn ounces of our weight on the side of applied hope. As the Zen master Goto Roshi put it, phrasing our task, infinite gratitude towards all things past, infinite service to all things present, infinite responsibility to all things future. This mission is challenging. It requires you to combine sizzle in your brain, fire in your belly, perseverance rooted like a redwood, soul as light as a butterfly. According to the internet, one Michael C. Muhammad said, everything works out right in the end. If things are not working right, it isn't the end yet. Don't let it bother you. Relax and keep on going. So in this tranquil but unwavering spirit of applied hope, let me tell you a story. In the early 1950s, the Dayak people in Borneo had malaria. The World Health Organization had a solution, sprayed EDT everywhere. They did, The mosquitoes died, the malaria declined. So far, so good. But there were side effects. Garrett Hardin said side effects are the things you didn't think of, whose existence you will deny as long as possible. For example, the roofs of the houses started falling down on people's heads because the DDT had also killed teensy little parasitic wasps that previously had controlled the thatch-eating caterpillars, which then proliferated and munched up the roof thatching. So the colonial government addressed this problem by giving people sheet metal roofs, but the noise of the tropical rain on the tin roofs kept people awake all night. That didn't work. Meanwhile, the DDT poisoned bugs were eaten by geckos, which were eaten by cats. The DDT built up in the food chain and killed the cats. Without the cats, the rats flourished and multiplied, and soon the World Health Organization was threatened with potential outbreaks of typhus and selatic plague, which it would itself have created. And it was thereby obliged to call the Royal Air Force in Singapore and ask them to come conduct Operation Cat Drop, parachuting a great many, by one account 14,000 live cats into Borneo. We have, by the way, verified this with some of the elders in the Kalabit Highlands. Yes, that's what happened. So this story is our guiding parable at Rocky Mountain Institute, and it shows that if you don't understand how things are connected, then quite often the cause of problems is solutions. And most of today's problems are like that. We created them by trying to do just one thing in a world where you can't do just one thing because it's hooked to everything else. But we can harness those hidden connections so the cause of solutions becomes solutions. We can solve, or better still, avoid a problem in a way that solves or avoids a lot of other problems as well, without making new ones before somebody has to go parachuting more cats. So join me in envisioning where these linked multiplying solutions can lead if we apply and extend what we've learned, and if the teachers here learn more from our brave and uninhibited students, and if we all take responsibility together for creating the world we want. You know, last year I asked you to imagine a university. Now let me ask you to imagine a world, a few short generations hence. A world where spacious, peppy, ultra-safe, 125 to 260 mile-a-gallon cars whisper through revitalized cities and towns, convivial suburbs, and fertile, prosperous countryside, burning no oil and emitting pure drinking water or nothing at all. Where sprawl is no longer mandated or subsidized, so stronger families eat healthy local food on front porches, and kids free of obesity, diabetes, and asthma play in thriving neighborhoods, where new buildings and plugged-in parked cars produce enough surplus energy to power the now efficient old buildings, and where our buildings make people healthier, happier, and more productive, creating delight when entered, serenity when occupied, and regret when departed. Imagine a world where oil and coal and nuclear energy have all been phased out, all vanquished by the competitors whose lower costs and risks have already enabled them to capture most of the world's market for new electric